CDL Practice Test, California, Air Brake, Part 2. Question number 29. Which of the following is not part of the braking process when driving a tractor-trailer combination vehicle with an anti-lock braking system? ABS. A. You should use only the braking necessary to stay safely in control. B. Brake the same way no matter what you're driving, a vehicle with ABS, a vehicle with a trailer, or something else. C. When you slow down, you should monitor your tractor and trailer and ease off the brakes to keep control. D. You should drive more quickly so that you will be able to keep the trailer and tractor straight. The correct answer is here, D. You should drive more quickly so that you will be able to keep the trailer and tractor straight. Explanation. When driving a tractor-trailer combination that has ABS, drive the same way that you always have. Do not drive any differently just because of ABS. Only use the braking necessary to keep control. Pay attention when you slow down, and brake the same way regardless of what you're driving. Never speed up unless it is part of the safe driving process already. Question number 30. If your truck or bus has dual parking control valves, you can use air pressure from a separate tank to A. Balance the service brake system when you are parked. B. Stay parked twice as long without using up service air pressure. C. Release the spring brakes. The correct answer is here, C. Release the spring brakes. Explanation. Even after a braking problem has caused the spring brakes to come on and stop your vehicle, you may need to move the vehicle again, perhaps to get it out of immediate danger. Some vehicles such as buses have a separate air tank that can be used to release the spring brakes. You can then move the vehicle, after which you can set the spring brakes again. This action is controlled by dual parking control valves. One valve lets airflow from this air tank to release the spring brakes, and the other valve sets them again. Question number 31. When you push the brake pedal down, what force or forces push back against your foot? A. The air pressure from the air brake system. B. The hydraulic system within the brake pedal. C. The hydraulic system within the brakes and the air pressure going to the brakes. D. The spring and the air pressure going to the brakes. The correct answer is here, D. The spring and the air pressure going to the brakes. Explanation. When you push on the brake pedal, two forces will resist your foot. These two forces are the spring in the physical pedal and the air pressure coming from the air brake system. Question number 32. If the spring brakes are on, when should you push the brake pedal? A. Only on a slippery road. B. Only when driving downhill. C. Never. The correct answer is here, C. Never. Explanation. Applying the spring brakes and the air brakes at the same time may be too much force on the brakes, and can actually damage them. Question number 33. Repeatedly pressing and releasing, fanning, the brake pedal may result in A. No change in brake air pressure. B. A buildup of brake air pressure. C. A loss of brake air pressure. The correct answer is here, C. A loss of brake air pressure. Explanation. Each time you release the brakes, some compressed air leaves the system and must be replenished by the air compressor. If you keep pressing and releasing the brake pedal, Air may leave the system faster than the air compressor can replenish it. The air pressure may drop to the point that the brakes won't work. Question number 34. Air braking takes more time than hydraulic braking because air, A. Brakes use different brake drums, B. Takes more time to flow through the lines than hydraulic fluid, C. Brakes require heavier return springs. The correct answer is here, B. Takes more time to flow through the lines than hydraulic fluid. Explanation. With hydraulic brakes, hydraulic fluid is always in the system, so the brakes will be applied instantly when you depress the brake pedal. With air brakes, the compressed air must flow through a complex series of lines, valves, etc., to reach and fill the brake chambers before the brakes can begin to slow your vehicle. This brake lag can take at least a half second. Question number 35. When should you drain your air tanks? A. At the end of each working day. B. At the end of a trip. C. At the end of the fiscal quarter. D. At the end of the month. The correct answer is here, A. At the end of each working day. Explanation. Unless your vehicle automatically drains the air tanks, you should drain them at the end of each working day so the moisture and oil will not freeze or coagulate and cause your brakes to fail. Question number 36. Under ideal conditions, the average driver of a truck or bus equipped with air brakes and traveling at 55 miles per hour would require what stopping distance? A. 100 to 250 feet. B. 300 to 350 feet. C. More than 400 feet. The correct answer is here, C. More than 400 feet. Explanation. The stopping distance equals the sum of the perception distance, reaction distance, brake lag distance, and braking distance. Under ideal conditions, the average driver of a bus or large truck equipped with air brakes and traveling at 55 miles per hour would require about 451 feet to come to a complete stop. The length of a football field including the two end zones is 360 feet. Question number 37. Which of the following is the most important thing about hard braking? A. Don't lock the wheels for longer than an instant. B. Disconnecting the steering axle brakes will help keep your vehicle in a straight line during emergency braking. C. Never do it without downshifting first. The correct answer is here, A. Don't lock the wheels for longer than an instant. Explanation. When braking hard, don't lock the wheels for longer than an instant, which is done in stab braking. If the wheels stay locked, they will lose the grip of the road and your vehicle may skid or even jackknife. Question number 38. The stoplight switch, A. tells you when the air brake system's air pressure is low. B. tells you when you need to use your emergency brakes. C. turns on the brake lights when you brake. The correct answer is here, C. turns on the brake lights when you brake. Explanation. The stop light switch is an electric switch triggered by air pressure. When you apply the service brakes, the stop light switch turns on the brake lights. Question number 39. Checking the manual slack adjusters on the S-cam brakes should be done during what step of the Basic 7-step inspection procedure. A. Step 7. Start the engine and check brake system. B. Step 2. Check engine compartment. C. Step 1. Do vehicle overview. D. Step 5. Do walk around inspection. The correct answer is here. D. Step 5. Do walk around inspection. Explanation. Checking the slack adjusters should be done while the vehicle is parked on level ground and the wheels are chocked. This falls under step 5, the walk around inspection. Question number 40. Air tank drains. A. Allow rainwater to enter the tanks. B. Should never be opened. C. Must remain open while driving. D. Are used to drain water and oil from the tanks. The correct answer is here. D. Are used to drain water and oil from the tanks. Explanation. In an air brake system, the air storage tanks are equipped with drains to allow water and compressor oil to be removed. The water and oil can damage the brakes if left to accumulate in the system. Question number 41. If application pressure must be increased to maintain a certain speed while going down a steep grade, then this most likely means what? A. There are other mechanical problems. B. The brakes are out of adjustment. C. There is an air leak. D. The brakes are fading. The correct answer is here. D. The brakes are fading. Explanation. When application pressure must be increased to maintain a consistent speed, it most likely means the brakes are fading. The driver should slow down and use a lower gear. Question number 42. If parking brakes are not being used when the vehicle is parked, what must be done instead? A. Use the emergency brakes. B. Leave the vehicle in gear when parked. C. Parking brakes must always be used. D. Use wheel chocks. The correct answer is here. D. Use wheel chocks. Explanation. At times the parking brakes should not be used because they are too hot or wet during freezing temperatures. At this time, wheel chocks should be used instead while the brakes cool or dry out. Question number 43. Your vehicle has a dual air brake system. One of the systems loses air pressure. What will happen? A. The manual slack adjusters will not be set properly. B. Either the front or rear brakes will not be fully operational. C. The emergency brakes will come on immediately. The correct answer is here. B. Either the front or rear brakes will not be fully operational. Explanation. A dual air brake system has two separate air brake systems, each with its own air tanks, hoses, lines, etc. Typically, one system operates the brakes on the rear axle, S, and the other system operates the brakes on the front axle. If one of the systems loses air pressure, either the front or the rear brakes won't work properly. As a result, your vehicle's braking distance will increase. If this happens, stop your vehicle and get the system fixed. Continued braking would soon cause the spring brakes to come on. Question number 44. The driver must be able to see a low pressure warning, which comes on before pressure in the service air tank falls below. A. 100 C. B. 60 C. C. 80 C. The correct answer is B. 60C. Explanation. The low pressure warning is set to come on before your air tank pressure drops below 60C. Question number 45. If your truck or bus has dual parking control valves, you can use air pressure from a separate tank to A. Stay parked twice as long without using up service air pressure. B. Release the spring emergency parking brakes. C. Balance the service brake system when you are parked. The correct answer is B. Release the spring emergency parking brakes. Explanation. With a dual parking control valve you can use the pressure from a separate air tank to give enough air pressure to release the spring brakes and move your vehicle. This is very useful in emergency situations. Question number 46. In a dual air brake system, A. Air tanks are shared between both systems. B. You must designate which system you are using. C. Each system has its own air tanks. The correct answer is C. Each system has its own air tanks. Explanation. There are two air brake systems in a dual air brake system. The systems share a set of brake controls, but each system has its own tanks, hoses, and lines. Question number 47. When operating a vehicle with a dual brake system, a driver should A. Let the vehicle warm up before driving to ensure that fuel reaches the engine. B. Begin driving just after the vehicle starts. C. Pump the pedal about 20 times to build pressure, then begin driving. D. Wait to begin driving until the air compressor builds up a minimum pressure of 100 C in both the primary and secondary systems. The correct answer is D. Wait to begin driving until the air compressor builds up a minimum pressure of 100 C in both the primary and secondary systems. Explanation. Before driving a vehicle with a dual air system, allow time for the air compressor to build up a minimum pressure of 100 C in both the primary and secondary systems. Question number 48. ABS brakes. A. Lock up your vehicle's wheels. B. Prevent your vehicle from accelerating when going uphill. C. Help you avoid wheel lockup. The correct answer is C. Help you avoid wheel lockup. Explanation. The purpose of an anti-lock braking system, ABS, is to prevent a vehicle's wheels from locking up when the driver brakes hard on a slippery surface. Question number 49. Some vehicles have a modulating control valve. What does a modulating control valve do? A. It enables you to switch from the air braking system to the spring brake system. B. It enables you to increase or decrease the pressure of the air brakes. C. It enables you to gradually decrease the pressure being sent to the trailer brakes. D. It enables you to put on the spring brakes gradually. The correct answer is D. It enables you to put on the spring brakes gradually. Explanation. The modulating control valve is a control handle on the dashboard that enables you to gradually apply the spring brakes. The more you turn the valve, the harder the brakes are applied. Question number 50. Pressing on the brakes as hard as you can, releasing when they lock up, then pressing the brakes fully again when the wheels are rolling is called A. Anti-lock braking. B. Impact braking. C. Controlled braking. D. Stab braking. The correct answer is here. D. Stab braking. Explanation. When a person presses as hard as they can on the brakes, releases the brakes when they lock up, then press as hard as they can again on the brakes when the wheels have begun rolling, it is called stab braking. Question number 51. With air brakes, there is an added delay when stopping. What causes this? A. The time required for the air brake system to measure the correct amount of pressure to send to each wheel. B. The time required for the compressed air to engage the push rod. C. The time required for compressed air to build up enough pressure to engage the brakes. D. The time required for the air to flow through the lines to the brakes. The correct answer is here. D. The time required for the air to flow through the lines to the brakes. Explanation. With hydraulic brakes, the brakes work instantly, but with air brakes, there is about a 0.5 second delay while the air flows through the lines to the brakes before the brakes begin working. Question number 52. What are spring brakes? A. They are the camblaster brakes. B. They are the springs on the brake pedal. C. If the air brakes leak down, springs apply the brakes to stop the vehicle. The correct answer is here. C. If the air brakes leak down, springs apply the brakes to stop the vehicle. Explanation. Springs brakes will automatically come on if air pressure in the tanks drop too low and will not be able to stop the vehicle. They are used as emergency brakes and parking brakes. Question number 53. As part of your vehicle inspection test, if your vehicle is equipped with air brakes and has a trailer, you'll inspect the air connections between the truck or tractor and the trailer. Make sure that they are locked in place and free of damage or air leaks. A. Lug nuts. B. Pins. C. Glad hands. The correct answer is here. C. Glad hands. Explanation. As part of your vehicle inspection test, if your vehicle is equipped with air brakes and has a trailer, you'll inspect the air connections between the truck or tractor and the trailer. These connections are made with hose couplers, commonly called glad hands because they vaguely resemble shaking hands. These glad hands have rubber seals to form a tight connection and prevent air from escaping. Make sure that the glad hands are locked in place and free of damage or air leaks. Question number 54. Why must air tanks be drained? A. Your transmission fluid may drain out. B. Your brakes may fail because of water freezing. C. Your left side brake will cease to operate. The correct answer is here. B. Your brakes may fail because of water freezing. Explanation. Your air tanks hold a mixture of water and compressor oil. If left in to collect at the bottom, the water may freeze and cause brake failure.